So I just started up the video because there was three younger people walking down Bulmer Street towards the Maisonneuve. I thought they might walk past the picket signs, but they crossed. So nothing terribly interesting. Let's see, somebody just came back from I'm not sure, but it's possible that these young people are perhaps visiting the Unitarian Church, even though it's officially closed. Let's see. Yes, the person who came back went into the back of the church. So this does make it seem to me that they may indeed be connected to the Unitarian Church of Montreal. They may be out-of-town Unitarian Universalists who are visiting the Unitarian Church of Montreal, possibly American Unitarian Universalists who are visiting Montreal and weren't aware of the COVID situation in terms of the church being closed down, etc. On the other hand, I do believe American Unitarian Universalist churches are closed for the COVID situation. I'm pretty sure that they're still doing video stuff. Hi. So somebody just walked by, saw the picket signs, saw me videoing. Yeah, I've been taking a few still photos. This is actually my first video clip, and the only reason I start running it was because of these young people who, looked like they might possibly be Unitarian Universalists. There was some clues in terms of how they were dressed and so on, which suggested to me that, there was a reasonable likelihood that they were Unitarian Universalists connected with the church. So anyway, I think maybe since this is running, I'll step into the frame. I see my battery's almost done here, so I think I'll just do a quick little monologue to start things off, explaining what the protest is about. So as we can see here, I got a sign on the right, Unitarian Universalist misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. This is an entirely accurate, truthful statement. The Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston hired Stikeman Elliott barristers and solicitors defamation lawyer, Maître Marc-André Coulombe, to falsely accuse me of violating Canada's blasphemy law in UUA legal bullying that sought to intimidate me into taking down blog posts that tell the readily verifiable truth about what Maître Marc-André Coulombe described as such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by certain Unitarian Universalist ministers. To say nothing of certain Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, also known as UUA religious educators. To say nothing of Unitarian Universalist lay leaders who are guilty of sexual abuse and rape of very young children. In particular, there's Richard Buell, that is Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein's First Parish Morwell parishioner, who was charged, tried, and convicted of committing such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, and sent to jail for them. And yet Peace Bang, that is Reverend Dr. Victoria Weinstein's internet pseudonym, tried to conceal that from the public. I first became aware of this because she was stridently criticizing the Roman Catholic Church of sexual abuse, specifically sexual abuse of children, on her Peace Bang blog back in, I guess it was 2006 or something. And so I commented on her blog, and I said, well, what about Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell? He was charged, tried, and convicted of luring teenage Tibetan refugees away from their families in India with promises of a better life in America, and then proceeding to use them as sex slaves. What about him? This was actually far worse sexual abuse of children than the specific case of sexual abuse that Reverend Weinstein was talking about. And she deleted my comments. She repeatedly deleted my comments because I came back and asked more questions and reinstated my comments. She would keep deleting them. That alone, as far as I'm concerned, is attempting to conceal the truth. Now, she was pseudonymous at the time. I didn't know her real name at the time. All I knew her as was Peace Bang. But I decided to try and identify which Unitarian Universalist minister this was. And I had a clue. In fact, one clue was that in one of the comments on her blog post, one of the commenters had addressed her as Victoria. So I said, well, let's run a search on Reverend Victoria Unitarian and see what comes up. And yes, Reverend Victoria Weinstein came up. So I went to the webpage of the First Parish Norwell Unitarian Church and found the newsletter, trying to confirm the identity of Peace Bang. And in the newsletter that I saw, which I believe was the newsletter for the month in question, I can't remember exactly which month it was, there was a notice which said that there'd be a special meeting with Reverend Deborah Pope Lance to discuss the recent conviction of Richard Buell. And this was interesting to me because I know that Reverend Deborah Pope Lance deals with clergy sexual misconduct issues. So my first thought was Richard Buell, might be a co-minister of the church or something, and that he'd been potentially found guilty of some kind of sexual abuse, sexual misconduct, obviously of a criminal nature because he was convicted. So I ran a search on Richard Buell, Norwell, and found out that he was a prominent lay leader of the First Parish Norwell who had been charged, tried, and convicted of the rape of a female family member who looks to have been his granddaughter or possibly grandniece, but I think it's granddaughter in terms of verification of the facts later, and also a neighbor's daughter. And these children were no older than 12 years old at the time that the rapes took place. They were estimated to be between 9 and 12 years old. Oui, absolument.